Hey everybody, it's Pete. Good morning. Welcome to today's episode of Best Stock Picks for the Day. Interesting setups today. The market itself, which is where we're going to start, is kind of still stuck in that trading range. The NASDAQ clearly has made it all the way back up to the February, March breakdown area where it's actually positive from up in that area now. But what's interesting now is one stock just completely helped the market crap the bed yesterday. We were still looking kind of bullish. We were still actually above the open yesterday in the SPY specifically. And then mRNA, Moderna news came out yesterday and the market just absolutely collapsed, which is actually something interesting to discuss because we had some people in our room saying, oh, it must have been the bots, it must have been this, it must have been that. As a trader, especially if you're active in the market, the reason why doesn't matter as much. After the fact, maybe, but once you're in a position, now you need to make a decision. Do I need to manage my open positions? Well, obviously you should. Do I need to manage my new positions where my idea has changed and I want to get out of the trade because of a unexpected shock to the market? Or do you look to just pull the plug and say, I don't want to be involved at all? Take your losses for fear of more follow through in that negative direction. So the point that I want to get across here is, as a trader, you have the choice, you have the right every single day to decide which stocks you want to be involved with. I personally have made it very clear in our chat room and in our community. I've been trading long enough to know what situations I want to avoid. And that includes FOMC days, it includes options expiration days, and I've also made it very clear I have stayed away from any of these COVID-related stocks for that exact reason, what happened yesterday. You might find it fine. That's 100% okay because we can attack the market in each of our own edges. So I thought that was interesting, something to talk about today. If you have any video, any stocks that you'd like for us to review or any comments or feedback on anything that we say in the videos, absolutely leave a comment, give us a thumbs up if you find the videos helpful. And also, please subscribe so that you get some updates. That would be kind of cool too. So we're going to head over to the charts. We're going to take a look at some of the best ideas I have coming into the day today. But what's interesting is ideas that meet the scan don't necessarily mean trades. That's an important thing to learn as a trader. So let's go right over to the charts and we'll take a look. So we're going to actually start out with ideas on the short side of the market today. And Gilead actually came in and has been a short sale for a while. I'm a day trader. A while meaning the last 5 days. But here's what's interesting. It popped up in my scan as a short sale today. But the interesting thing here is we went inside candlestick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row well offered. The last 2 days closing in the bottom, let's say, portion, not necessarily here in the bottom 10%, which is what I would normally like to see. But because it meets the criteria here today, I would actually expect Gilead not to trade lower today, specifically on the open. So the only thing I'd be looking to do in Gilead is look for this higher opening because of how far it's been pushed, and then look for a spot to initiate a new swing short. But because of the fact that it's already sold off, it might be reaching what I call a saturation point. So a good what's the word I'm looking for? A good example here of a stock that meets the criteria but doesn't necessarily make a good trading opportunity today based on the most recent price action. And that's the difference between chart reading and tape reading when you go that one step further and you build an argument for probability. So next we have Roku, which is another interesting one. And I say interesting here because if you watch the previous video that I just did, technical analysis of stock charts, you'll immediately be able to tell that Roku is stuck in a box and there's nothing to do here from a swing perspective. So we'll actually just draw the box here, and I'm going to explain why I'm drawing it at this price in a second if you happen to have not watched that other video. So this is where Roku is right now. So where is the trade in Roku? It meets the criteria of my scan, which is based on what it's done over the last week and the last month and how it closed yesterday and how it closed from the open. Meets the criteria, but it's stuck in this window. It's literally nowhere until we get out of this window. Can you day trade it from one day to the next? 100%. I'm not talking about day trading now. I'm talking about trades that if you were going to day trade it, you would also still swing trade it and hold it longer. In my vernacular and the way I'm looking at it, Roku has to break this box before I do anything, long or short. Now, you can make a case that it's long based on where we bounced off of March, but now the stock has basically been in a window for a month. If a stock is stuck in a trading range for a month, there's no bias in that stock right now. So although it meets my short-term criteria for a possible trade to the short side, to me, it's no trade until we break this window. So again, I want to point out some of these ideas because scanning versus trades, not the same thing. Scanning is only the first part of the criteria. Next, we're going to go to EGHT, which again, I've actually never traded this stock, but it came up in my criteria. I am actually not going to trade this stock either. So I don't see a clear edge here from one day to the next. I don't like the fact that it rocketed up, rocketed down. Obviously, it happened on earnings here. But I will say this, and I've been talking about this in JP Morgan for a while now. When a stock reports guidance, generally speaking, I can position trade that or trade in and around a core position in that direction of how the guidance reported. And now you can see that the guidance heading into earnings was good. After earnings was down. So if I was trading the stock, which I'm not, I'd be looking to trade this on the short side for the next quarter up until the next earnings. So next, we're going to take a quick look at some stocks on the long side. Not really a massive list today. PENN is one that we've actually been trading almost every day in the chat room for a couple of weeks now, and you can see why. We finally got out of this window here, right, and now traded through, but not an expensive stock, but look at the closes above the open. It's been giving us some really nice, and I'll even break it down a little further. Look at these intraday moves. If you happen to have not been watching this stock, it meets the criteria on the longer time frame because it broke out, and now intraday, it's giving us good opportunities to trade in that direction. So PENN is one of the stocks we'll be watching today. It's not really as extended. I don't like the fact that it closed off the highs, but closing off the highs means that there's more room to go. It closed off the highs because of yesterday's news. The whole market pulled back. CODEX has been one that's been in the list, and a few people in the trading room have called this one out. I have personally not gotten involved, again, for the obvious reasons that I just told you before. This one day was worth the price of admission. But again, the difference between getting involved in a stock that meets the criteria versus getting involved in a stock that's a tradable opportunity. I like nice, clean charts. I don't like massive spikes in both directions. To me, I kind of tend to stay away from that. The one thing I will say about this stock today is the fact that it just traded an inside candle on the daily chart. That means that we are looking at a trend day. So from a one-day trade perspective, CODEX meets the criteria if we're looking for an expansion in volatility, which means that we're looking for a trade today, long or short in the stock. When you're calling for an expansion in volatility like that on the one-day trade, you're not calling direction, you're calling volatility. And whichever direction that breaks out of, it's usually a trade that you can hold to the close. And you get a nice, good 5 or 6 hour trade as a day trade. Possibly become a swing trade, but mostly as a day trade. So keep an eye on that one today. Lennar actually had a nice breakout. So actually looking at Lennar now, we have resistance here. So this is, again, the difference between chart reading and tape reading, where you're actually tape reading and taking it a step further. I like Lennar because of this 20-day breakout, but what I don't like as a trade today is the fact that it's already up 4 days in a row. So positive from the open, 2, 3, 4, and into resistance. So I am marking this down as going on my watch list, not as a new trade. We need to close above this level. So obviously, if I'm looking at Lennar, then we have to take a look at the other home builders to see if they have the same kind of setups. And as of right now, they technically do. So Lennar, and we'll just take a look at it. Toll Brothers. Toll Brothers actually did not break out as significantly, but what I do love here is a push and a pause, 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 and a push again. So we're seeing nice price action. We can draw a nice clean trend line here and still want to be long the stock. It's really just a question of what do you know, now you can even take it a step further is what do you think is going to happen when the world starts to get back to normal? Everybody seems to be believing that home prices are going to go down because I read today 4 million people are not paying their mortgage. I don't know. I don't know how anybody's not putting the equation together with all these people out of work and nobody's paying their mortgage and how that means that we're going to make all-time highs again. Let's let the market tell us what it's going to do, but interesting to jump into, see that we're seeing breakouts. So I like Lennar. up at this level, but I don't like it for a new swing trade. Add that to your watch list and then eventually make a move up to this 72.50 level. Zoom has been one that has been trading very well since the pandemic. For obvious reasons, I'm on Zoom right now recording this video. I have been staying away from it because of the lack of consistency in the trend. And we're getting these wild swings back and forth. It meets the criteria. I do like it if it can break the 180 level and stay above there and pause above that level. As of right now, it's not in my swing account, but it has met the criteria. Square, on the other hand, is one that we've been trading every single day. And yesterday, again, just to give you a feel for what we were watching yesterday, this was a really amazing trade that we called in the room. Quite a few people took advantage of it. And again, you can make all of your profits for the week in one good trade. At this point, it's really just a question of how long you hold the trade. So again, all-time highs, you want to make sure that you're sticking with those stocks. If the stocks weren't, excuse me, not all-time highs, NVIDIA is all-time highs. But when a stock is trading well, there's no reason to leave it. Stick with it, trade your bias, make as much as you can until you feel that bias has changed. So again, very similar to what we just talked about in Lennar, we're looking at resistance levels here where the upside potential at this point is maybe $3 or $4, depending on where you're drawing your trend line, maybe even $5. So maybe one more day in Square when we'll get a flat opening today, look for that resistance and then reevaluate. But above this level, you can see it's got some room to go, right? And again, that's interesting. We have resistance here, and we're coming up to resistance. So as much as we like Square, you have to be aware that the upside potential is not as awesome there, although we're trading it every day. ENPH up until this level, obviously green for the last the last 4 or 5 days, but with a lot of consistency since we broke this level. We've been trading this as well every day. I like this stock. I still like it. I'm still going to be looking to trade long the stock. One stock that's not in the list that we have been watching that I don't think is a great day trading stock, but I do believe it's a stock to consider for swings, is also DDOG. This data stock actually is holding the gap nicely. It's stuck in this box here between 62.50 and 70, but it's continuing to stay near the highs. I actually like this one long as well. Foot Locker came up in my scan. To me, there's nothing to do here. And again, this is the difference between a scan and a trade. I do like the fact that we are seeing higher lows and we're pushing levels here, but I want to see it get above this level, pause, and then look for the next run up to 36, so set your alerts. LVGO, same thing. I love this, very similar to the way I like DDOG, and you can see on the weekly chart, the persistency from 1 week to the next is just really, really good. So another one that I'm having in my watch list, I like it above 62.50 as well. And DocuSign, a lot of people in the room sending me private messages that they've been trading this stock. Sending private messages versus posting in the main channel because it's a little bit thin for some day traders. But as far as a swing trading stock, I like this one long as well. So from the market's perspective, the NASDAQ remains the stronger of the indices. You can see here in the SPY, we're still stuck in this range. The Dow is still stuck in an even longer term range, but the NASDAQ, or specifically the Qs, has broken out of the range and is now all the way back up to basically where it was prior to the pandemic. And a lot of these high-flying, we might call high-flying stocks, but like NVIDIA making all-time highs here have been carrying that. So really good signs here in some of these NASDAQ stocks. And until we see a reason not to trade them, we're going to continue to be looking long in these stocks because they've been offering easier opportunities because the order flow has been obvious. So if you have any questions, definitely leave a comment. If you'd like to see a stock reviewed, also leave a comment below, and we'll speak to you soon. Thanks so much for joining us today.